You practice English every day, but still can't speak. Something feels wrong, and deep down you know it's not just about vocabulary or grammar. There is a gap you can't explain, and it shows up every time you try to talk. You watch English videos, learn new words, and understand almost everything. It feels like you are improving, like you are getting closer to speaking fluently. But the moment a real conversation begins, everything starts falling apart. You hesitate, your mind slows down, and suddenly you cannot form even a simple sentence. That confidence you felt while learning disappears instantly. In that moment, it feels like all your effort was useless, and that frustration keeps building inside you. Slowly, you begin to question yourself. You start thinking maybe you are not capable, maybe speaking English is just not for you. But the truth is far different from what you believe. The safe practice trap. The real problem is not your English. It is the way you practice it. Most people spend hours learning in environments that feel safe and controlled. They practice alone, repeat sentences in their head, and consume content without ever stepping into a real conversation. In that space, everything feels easy. There is no pressure to respond instantly, no fear of being judged, and no risk of making mistakes in front of someone else. Your brain adapts to this comfort and starts believing that this is what communication looks like. You feel productive because you are learning every day. You understand more, you recognize more words, and you feel like progress is happening. But this progress is incomplete. It builds knowledge, not the ability to respond in real time. Real conversations do not give you time to think slowly. They move fast, they change direction, and they demand instant reactions. You cannot pause, translate, and then speak. You have to stay present and respond with whatever you know at that moment. And this is where everything starts to break. Because your brain has never been trained for that situation. It has only practiced understanding, not responding. It has only experienced control, not pressure. And that gap becomes obvious the moment you try to speak. When you face a real person, your brain goes into defense mode. It tries to protect you from embarrassment. It slows your thoughts, creates hesitation, and fills your mind with doubt. Instead of helping you speak, it pushes you towards silence because silence feels safer. You start thinking something is wrong with you. You believe you need more vocabulary, better grammar, or more preparation. But that is not the real issue. The real issue is that you have trained your brain to observe English, not to use it. The more you stay in this safe practice loop, the stronger this habit becomes. You get better at understanding and worse at responding. You become comfortable as a listener but uncomfortable as a speaker, and that imbalance keeps growing. Confidence does not come from knowing more. It comes from handling real moments, messy conversations, and imperfect sentences. It grows when you speak despite hesitation, not when you wait to feel ready. Until you break out of this safe practice trap, nothing will change. You will keep learning, keep improving on the surface, and still feel stuck when it comes to speaking. And that is the cycle that silently holds most people back. Train your brain for real conversation. If your brain has learned to stay silent, then you have to retrain it to speak. Not by learning more, but by changing how you practice every single day. Because speaking is not knowledge, it is a reaction skill. You need to put your brain in situations where it has no option but to respond. Small, real moments where you cannot pause, cannot translate, and cannot hide. That is where real growth begins. Start simple. Speak in short sentences, even if they are not perfect. Focus on expressing your idea, not on building the perfect sentence. Because in real conversations, clarity matters more than perfection. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You will hesitate, make mistakes, and feel slow. That is normal. This discomfort is not failure, it is training. It means your brain is finally stepping out of its safe zone. Do not wait to feel confident before you speak. Confidence is not something you achieve first. It is something you build while speaking. Every imperfect sentence you say is a step forward. Also, stop practicing only in your head. Thinking in English is useful, but it is not enough. You need to hear your own voice. You need to experience real responses, real reactions, and real pressure. Even one small conversation a day can change everything. It could be with a friend, a stranger, or even recording yourself and speaking out loud. What matters is that it feels real, not safe. The goal is not to sound perfect. The goal is to stay in the conversation without freezing. Because once you stop freezing, everything else becomes easier. Words come faster, sentences become smoother, and confidence starts growing naturally. Your brain learns from repetition. If you keep choosing silence, it becomes stronger. But if you start choosing to speak, even in small moments, your brain will slowly adapt to that you. And one day, without realizing it, you will respond without fear. Not because you learned more English, but because you finally trained yourself to use it. Stop waiting to feel ready. Most people are waiting for the perfect moment to start speaking. They think one day they will feel ready, confident, and fully prepared. But that day never comes, and the waiting becomes the biggest reason they stay stuck. Readiness is an illusion. You do not become ready by learning more. You become ready by stepping into situations where you feel unprepared and still choosing to speak. That is how the shift begins. Right now, your mind is trained to avoid risk. It tells you to wait, to improve more, to speak later when everything feels easier. But that voice is not helping you grow. It is keeping you comfortable and silent. Every time you choose silence, you strengthen that habit. You teach your brain that avoiding is the right decision. And slowly, that pattern becomes automatic. You stop trying before you even begin. But the moment you interrupt that pattern, everything starts to change. The first time you speak despite hesitation, you send a new signal to your brain. You show it that speaking is possible, even without perfection. You do not need long conversations to improve. Even small moments matter. A single sentence, a short reply, or a quick interaction is enough to break the pattern. What matters is that you act instead of avoiding. At first, it will feel messy. Your sentences may not be smooth, and your confidence may feel low. But that is part of the process. Growth always looks uncomfortable in the beginning. Stop chasing perfect English. Start chasing real expression. Say what you can, with what you know, in the moment you get. That is how real speakers are built. The truth is simple. You are not stuck because you lack ability. You are stuck because you are waiting. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. So stop waiting to feel ready. Start speaking, even when you are not. Because that is the only moment where real change begins. This is where everything changes. At some point, you have to make a decision. Not about learning more, Not about waiting longer, but about changing your behavior. Because nothing will improve until your actions change. You already know enough to start. You understand English, you recognize words, and you can form basic sentences. What you are missing is not knowledge. What you are missing is the habit of using it. The moment you decide to speak, even in imperfect ways, you break the cycle. You stop being someone who only learns, and you become someone who uses the language. That identity shift changes everything. It will not feel comfortable in the beginning. You will still hesitate, still make mistakes, and still feel unsure. But this time, you will not stop. And that is the difference that creates progress. Every time you choose to speak instead of staying silent, you build a new pattern. Your brain slowly stops seeing English as a threat and starts seeing it as something normal. That fear begins to fade. With time, your responses become faster. Your thoughts become clearer. You stop overthinking every sentence and start focusing on communication. And that is when speaking finally feels natural. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming consistent. Small, daily actions will take you further than endless preparation ever will. One day, you will notice something different. You will respond without freezing. You will speak without that heavy pause. And in that moment, you will realize that nothing was wrong with you. You just needed to stop waiting and start speaking. If this felt relatable, then you already know what you need to change. Not your English, but your actions. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start speaking in the imperfect ones you get every day. That is where real progress begins. You are closer than you think. You just need to take that step and keep going. And if you are serious about fixing this, stay here. Because this is exactly what we are going to work on together. If this changed the way you see your English, consider hitting subscribe and staying connected for more. If you found this helpful, a like really supports the content and helps it reach more people. You can share this with someone who understands English but still struggles to speak naturally. Try writing one simple sentence in English in the comments, without translating, just your thoughts. If you want to keep improving step by step, turn on the bell icon so you do not miss what comes next. Thank you for watching and putting in the effort to improve. It truly means a lot that you chose to spend your time learning with this video.